This is a sprawling epic of risk, engineering disasters, and high-stakes gambling. Since you asked for a full story and instructed me not to stop, I will begin with Part 1, The Valley of Death, 2002 to 2008. This covers the era where Musk bet his entire fortune and brought himself to the brink of financial and mental ruin. Prologue, The Golden Handcuffs. Summer, 2002. Elon Musk was 31 years old and standing on top of the world. eBay had just acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion. As the largest shareholder, Musk walked away with approximately $180 million after taxes. For almost anyone else in Silicon Valley, this was the end game. It was the moment to buy a private island, invest in safe index funds, buy a McLaren F1, which he did, and retire to a life of advisory boards and philanthropy. But Musk was possessed by a different kind of demon. He didn't view the money as a nest egg, he viewed it as ammunition. He had been reading old Soviet rocket manuals and thinking about the extinction of humanity. He had been thinking about the internal combustion engine and how it was choking the planet. Against the advice of every friend, accountant, and mentor he had, Musk pushed his chips back into the center of the table. He didn't just invest in one risky startup. He decided to start two companies in the industries with the highest failure rates in American history: aerospace and automobiles. He put $100 million into SpaceX, a company he founded to put a greenhouse on Mars. He put $70 million into Tesla, a tiny electric car startup he joined to kill the gas engine. He kept about $10 million for himself. By 2008, all of it would be gone. Chapter 1, Rockets in the Jungle. Omelek Island, Kwajalein Atoll, 2006. The early days of SpaceX were not filled with sleek glass offices or applause. They were filled with humidity, salt spray, and failure. Musk had realized that he couldn't just buy rockets. Russian ICBMs were too expensive. He had to build them from scratch. He set up shop in a warehouse in El Segundo, hiring a ragtag team of brilliant engineers who were willing to work 80-hour weeks. Their goal, the Falcon 1, a small rocket designed to be the cheapest way to orbit. Because the U.S. Air Force wouldn't let an unproven startup launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base easily, SpaceX was forced to move its operations to the Kwajalein Atoll in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It was a logistical nightmare. Engineers slept in trailers, battled corrosion from the sea air, and sometimes went hungry when supply boats were delayed. Musk shuttled back and forth in his jet, micromanaging valves and welding seams. March 24, 2006, Launch 1. The team held their breath. The engine ignited. The Falcon 1 soared into the sky. For 25 seconds, it looked like a miracle. Then, a fuel leak caused a fire. The main engine cut off. The rocket plummeted, crashing into a reef just hundreds of yards from the launch pad. The payload, a satellite built by cadets at the Air Force Academy, was destroyed. Millions of dollars vaporized. March 21, 2007, Launch 2. A year later, the rocket cleared the tower. It made it through the dangerous Max-Q, maximum aerodynamic pressure. The first stage separated perfectly. The control room erupted in cheers. Then, a harmonic oscillation, a slosh in the fuel tank, caused the rocket to spin out of control. The engine flamed out. Failure. Musk publicly put on a brave face, but privately, the math was becoming terrifying. Rockets are expensive. You don't get refunds on crashed hardware. Chapter 2, The Roadster Nightmare. San Carlos, California, 2007. While SpaceX was exploding in the Pacific, Tesla was bleeding to death in Silicon Valley. The plan was simple. Take the chassis of a Lotus Elise, stuff it with laptop batteries and an electric motor, and sell it as the Tesla Roadster. It was supposed to be a proof of concept. But simple is a lie in manufacturing. The transmission kept breaking. The batteries were prone to thermal runaway, catching fire. The carbon fiber body panels were misaligned. By 2007, the cost to build a single Roadster had ballooned to $140,000, but they had pre-sold them to customers for $92,000. They were losing $50,000 on every single car they hadn't even built yet. Musk, who was then chairman but not yet CEO, was furious. He launched a forensic audit of the company. He realized the original management had underestimated the costs by massive margins. He staged a coup. He ousted the founder, Martin Eberhard, and eventually installed himself as CEO. He began sleeping on the factory floor. He fired people who said things were impossible. He demanded they redesign the entire transmission from scratch. But the delays had spooked investors. The media began to call Tesla a vaporware company. Chapter 3: The Year from Hell. 2008. If 2007 was difficult, 2008 was a catastrophe. It was the year the global financial crisis hit. Lehman Brothers collapsed. Credit froze. The auto industry was being bailed out by the government, and GM and Chrysler were bankrupt. Venture capitalists stopped writing checks. For a man trying to raise capital for a rocket company and an electric car company, this was the worst economic environment since the Great Depression. Simultaneously, Musk's personal life fell apart. His marriage to Justin Musk ended in a messy, public divorce. Musk was now fighting a three-front war. SpaceX had enough money for perhaps 1 or 2 more launches. If they failed, the company died. Tesla was running on fumes. They needed tens of millions to survive the year, but investors were fleeing. Personal bankruptcy. Musk had sold his assets. He was borrowing money from friends just to pay his rent and keep the companies afloat. He later described this time, "I remember waking up the Sunday before Christmas in 2008 and thinking to myself, man, I never thought I was someone who could ever have a nervous breakdown. I felt like this is the closest I've ever come." It was pretty dark. Chapter 4: The Third Failure. August 3, 2008. SpaceX loaded the third Falcon 1 onto the pad at Kwajalein. This was it. They had to prove they could reach orbit. The launch began beautifully. The first stage did its job and separated. But then, disaster struck. The first stage, which was supposed to fall away, had a residual thrust kick. It bumped into the second stage. The collision damaged the engine. The rocket tumbled. The video feed cut out. Musk flew to the command center. He looked at the data. It was over. 3 launches. 3 failures. He walked out to address the shell-shocked team of 350 employees. Many were in tears. They had spent years on this, sacrificing marriages and sleep. Musk stood before them. He didn't yell. He didn't fire anyone. He said, "For my part, I will never give up, and I mean never." He told them he had secured enough investment for 1 more launch. Just 1. They had the parts for a 4th rocket at the factory. If they could assemble it in 6 weeks, a process that normally took months, they had 1 last shot. If Flight 4 failed, SpaceX was dead. And if SpaceX died, Musk's reputation would be destroyed, ensuring Tesla would likely die too. Chapter 5: The Last Roll of the Dice. September 28, 2008. The pressure on Omelek Island was suffocating. The engineers had worked in shifts, 24 hours a day, to build the 4th Falcon 1. They checked every bolt, every wire, every line of code. Musk was in the control room. His face was gray with exhaustion. The countdown hit 0. The engines ignited. The rocket climbed. It passed the tower. It passed Max Q. Stage separation. Clean. No collision. The second stage engine ignited. For 9 agonizing minutes, the rocket coasted into the blackness of space. The speed telemetry kept climbing. 5,000 meters per second. 6,000 meters per second. 7,000 meters per second. Then, the call came over the radio, orbital insertion achieved. The room exploded. They had done it. SpaceX became the first private company in history to put a liquid-fueled rocket into orbit. Musk wept. But the victory was short-lived. A successful rocket doesn't pay the bills immediately. SpaceX was broke. Tesla was even more broke. Chapter 6: The Christmas Eve Miracle. December 2008. It was December. The banks were closed. The economy was dead. Tesla had less than a week of cash left. Vendors were demanding payment. Employees were wondering if payroll would clear. Musk needed $40 million to save the company. He scraped together every penny he had left. He liquidated his remaining assets. He put in $20 million of his own money, literally the last of his fortune. He went to existing investors and begged them to match it. The deal had to close by Christmas Eve, or payroll would bounce and Tesla would declare bankruptcy. He spent his days on the phone, shouting, negotiating, pleading. He was playing a bluffing game, telling investors that he would take the round entirely himself, which he couldn't actually afford to do, to shame them into contributing. At the same time, SpaceX was waiting for a call from NASA. NASA needed a contractor to resupply the International Space Station. SpaceX was a finalist, but they were the underdog. December 23, 2008. Musk's phone rang. It was NASA. They were awarding SpaceX a $1.6 billion commercial resupply services contract. SpaceX was saved. December 24, 2008. Hours before the deadline, the Tesla funding round closed. The investors signed. The money was wired. Tesla was saved. Musk collapsed. He had gone from the brink of total ruin, humiliation, bankruptcy, and the death of two dreams, to securing the future of spaceflight and electric cars in the span of 48 hours. Transition to Part 2. This was the end of the beginning. Musk had survived the valley of death. But survival was just the first step. Now, he had to actually build the cars and the rockets he had promised. Part 2. Disruption and Domination, 2009 to 2015. Having survived 2008, Musk shifted gears from survival mode to attack mode. The goal was no longer just to stay alive, it was to prove that his products were not just good for electric or good for a startup, but the best in the world, period. Chapter 7. The Model S Bet. 2009 to 2012. The Tesla Roadster had proved electric cars could be fast. But it was a toy for rich people, a cramped, two-seater sports car. To change the world, Musk needed a sedan. A car that could carry a family, drive from San Francisco to LA, and look better than a Jaguar. He announced the Model S. The automotive press laughed. A Silicon Valley startup building a mass-produced sedan? It was impossible. Manufacturing is production hell. You need supply chains, factories, paint shops. Musk bought the shut-down Nummi factory in Fremont, California, from Toyota and GM for a steal. It was a cavernous, empty building. He began filling it with robots. He drove the engineering team relentlessly. He obsessed over door handles that retracted flush into the body. He demanded a massive 17-inch touchscreen in the center console, something no car had ever had. He insisted on the highest safety rating in history. June 22, 2012. The first Model S rolled off the line. It didn't just work. Motor Trend named it Car of the Year. Consumer Reports gave it a score of 99 out of 100, the highest rating ever given to a car. It broke the crash testing machine because it was so sturdy. Musk had done the impossible. He built a car that was superior to a gas car in every metric: speed, safety, storage, and handling. The stock price began to tick upward. The shorts, investors betting against Tesla, began to sweat. Chapter 8. The Grasshopper. McGregor, Texas, 2011 to 2013. While Tesla was reinventing the car, SpaceX was trying to break the laws of economic gravity. Musk knew that if rockets were thrown away after every flight, like airplanes being trashed after one trip, humanity would never colonize Mars. It was too expensive. Rockets had to be reusable. They had to land. This was considered insane physics. A rocket is a pencil balancing on a finger of fire. Bringing it back down vertically, tail first, required computer reaction times and engine control that didn't exist. At their testing facility in Texas, SpaceX built a weird, ugly test vehicle called Grasshopper. It looked like a grain silo with legs. They started small. They flew it up 6 feet. Then 100 feet. Then 1,000 feet. It would hover, adjust, and land gently. The industry veterans at Boeing and Lockheed Martin rolled their eyes. Doing a hop in a field is one thing, they said. Landing a rocket coming back from space at hypersonic speeds is impossible. Musk ignored them. He moved the experiments to the actual Falcon 9 launches. After delivering satellites to orbit, the first stage would try to land on the ocean water. They exploded. Over and over again. They tipped over. They ran out of hydraulic fluid. They smashed into the drone ship, a floating landing pad named, of course, I Still Love You. The internet watched every failure. Musk tweeted the blooper reels. He knew they were getting closer. Chapter 9. The Landing. December 21, 2015. It was a cold night at Cape Canaveral. SpaceX had upgraded the Falcon 9. The rocket launched, delivering 11 satellites into orbit. The primary mission was done. But all eyes were on the first stage. High in the atmosphere, the booster flipped around. It fired its engines to slow down. It plummeted through the darkness, aiming for a concrete pad at landing zone 1. A sonic boom cracked across the Florida sky. Then, a bright orange glow appeared. The legs deployed. The engine throttled down. In the control room, the cheering was so loud it drowned out the flight announcer. The rocket touched down. It stood still. It didn't explode. It didn't tip. Elon Musk ran out onto the causeway. He stared at the rocket standing tall under the floodlights. The thing that everyone said was impossible was now sitting on the ground. It was the moment the space industry changed forever. The cost of access to space was about to crash. Chapter 10. Production Hell. 2017 to 2018. With the Model S and Model X, the SUV, successful, Musk announced the Model 3. This was the master plan realized, an affordable electric car for the masses. Demand was insane. Hundreds of thousands of people put down $1,000 deposits before seeing the car. But designing a car is easy. Building 5,000 of them a week is a nightmare. Musk tried to automate everything. He built an alien dreadnought factory full of robots. But the robots failed. They couldn't handle the fluff of insulation or the flexibility of cables. The assembly line ground to a halt. Tesla entered production hell. Cash was bleeding again. Musk moved into the factory. He slept under a desk. He stopped showering regularly. He wore the same clothes for days. He personally troubleshoot bottlenecks on the line at 3 a.m. He realized the excessive automation was a mistake. Humans are underrated, he tweeted. He ripped out the robots and hired hundreds of workers to do the job manually. They built a makeshift assembly line under a giant tent in the parking lot because they ran out of space. The media smelled blood. They predicted Tesla would go bankrupt within weeks. Musk was erratic on Twitter, attacking critics, lashing out at regulators. The pressure was even higher than in 2008 because now, the whole world was watching. But slowly, the numbers climbed. 1,000 cars a week. 3,000. Finally, in mid-2018, they hit 5,000 cars a week. The company turned a profit. The stock began a meteoric rise that would eventually make Tesla the most valuable car company on Earth. Reflecting on the journey. From the sleeping bag in the factory to the richest man in the world. From the exploding rockets on a tropical island to the Falcon Heavy launching his own Tesla Roadster into orbit around the sun. Elon Musk's journey wasn't just about technology, it was about a tolerance for pain. It was about the ability to look at a 99% chance of failure and say, I like those odds.